What is going on, everyone? It is Mr. Clutch here. It is Friday, May 19th, and I am taking a look at SPY and QQQ, doing a quick chart review here. And this may be my last one for maybe the month. I'm going to be on vacation. I am actually sitting in Florida right now, and vacation is kicking off. So next week, I may have a little time when the family's napping or something, but this could be it for a week. So I wanted to dive in here and knock this out and look at today's action. It was a really good day overall for SPY. Q's was a little different. We'll go into that. So we have our zones marked and out of pre-market. We're at the top of that zone here where we marked it, and we kind of are dripping out of it a little, but the 200's holding on our EMAs. So we're just watching here. I'd probably draw after we let a little time go by here. I'm probably drawing a trend line. Oh, that didn't work. Right here, something along those lines. And then there wasn't a great pre-market trend line like we've looked at. You could look at something like that potentially, but some of these will have 3 or 4 touches in pre-market, so you could have caught something there, but I probably wouldn't have been looking at that too heavily, just because it was kind of chopping up and down. There's no clear flag there. But once this first part of the day builds out and you have these here, you may have had that drawn out and tried to enter here. You're under the 200 and it's looking like you're headed down to the zone below. You may have tried to enter here, and I don't think that's a bad play. You probably got stopped out, but that's okay. So don't be frustrated if you played that and got stopped out. I think that's a good risk reward there. Or you may have cut the trade. If you got in here on this candle close, you could have potentially cut it here for less than a stop out. So what I do then is kind of readjust that trend line there. And now this looks really good. We kind of see we've got like this wedge here that's kind of tightening up as it goes here. So we come down to it, bounce off of it, right under our EMAs, we break down. So you could have potentially taken an entry here, and there were some definite wicks, but overall you could have ridden that all the way down. You probably would have got out here, somewhere in here, or maybe you just keep runners at break even and let that try to play out again. But with that said, here's another really good entry. Look at this volume. See that? So here's our heavy volume, sell volume. This comes down to almost no volume at the top of this flag. Right under the 13. This is textbook play to me right here. Then you ride that down into the zone. That's probably a 100% move. So that was a nice move there. Just looking at trend lines here, there's nothing great here. You could have you're like forcing something here to try to make something with more than a point or two. So we're still in a downtrend though, right? A lot of times we start getting these double bottoms and the bounce, and that doesn't mean that we're going to just reclaim the highs. A lot of times I feel like, even myself, I start thinking, okay, the low of the day's in, which it could be, but I start thinking, okay, well, this means we're going back to reclaim highs, right? So not necessarily the case. If we pull fibs from today, I usually pull these from intraday, but if you got a point like this just before open and it's like a clear structure high, run it from there, run it to your low, and look at that. We're rejecting at the 5-0 basically the rest of the day. So we're still in a downtrend, so you can still watch here for an entry. This was hard to enter on. I know we did in the Discord, and we got to end up getting a really nice move out of this, but it was kind of hard to find an entry because there's not really a flag. You could draw something like that. These are the ones I always talk about, where they go up pretty steep and don't really give you a second connecting point. Then you're kind of waiting. So this would be what I normally wait on, I guess, like another point here that connects. and then it just walks up that and then breaks down through the 13. So you could get in there and really never get stopped out here and ride that all the way down. So I think that got to 50 or 60% or more from where we entered on that one. And then the rest of the day, you're bouncing between, you know, the 5.0 and the low a day, and there's just nothing there. There's, if anything, you're scalping quickly. You know, there's a little bit here. Nice little flag there as it's claiming that. You could ride that up. But overall, there's just not a lot. And I even found myself at the end of the day, just because it's Friday, I'm going to be on vacation, I'm looking to have some fun and find a good trade. Almost like I was felt like I started feeling like I wanted to gamble a little bit. And so I start finding myself looking at every, candle up or down. I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can this turn into an entry? And when you're doing that, it's best just to step away. You're just going to get chopped up, and that's exactly what we did the rest of the day. After this drop, we just kind of chopped our way up, and even, we went from, let's say this low from 417.50 to almost 419, but there's no way that any contracts didn't get you chopped up in this mess here unless you're playing futures. So all in all, there were a couple good moves early. This is really a perfect Friday. Like you really want this as a trader. Get me in a couple good moves early, get me a couple nice big moves, another one here, and let's be done. Let's go home at noon and let's enjoy our weekend. Fridays, it's kind of funny to think about, because like what I just mentioned is a lot of times we overtrade Friday afternoon because we know we're not going to get our trading fix for the weekend. And so when in reality the nice thing to do would just be walk away on a Friday afternoon and enjoy it. We tend to sometimes feel like we need that fix before the weekend. So so if we look at Qs, though, it looks pretty choppy all day. I did not trade Qs at all today, and I haven't even really looked at the chart until I just flipped over there a second ago. And this is ugly, man. I mean, there's trying to find something in here, you're really forcing it. You're coming out of the pre-market. We've got our zone here. We're kind of dip in, go out. Like, there were quick scalps, but they weren't going to be huge. You could draw that out. We break through it. We're above the EMAs, and we ride that up, and that's a dollar move or whatever it may be. Quick scalp, that sells off quickly. There was this here, but even this, looking at it now, yeah, I mean, you could realize a little of that, and then it back tests, and I want to see the volume on these two candles, because this is rather steep. Yeah, but look at that. I actually don't mind. I don't like playing the steep trend lines usually, but this one here isn't bad. Our EMAs are starting to get straightened out. We're headed down into the zone, and then there's almost no volume. I mean, these were the lowest volume candles of the day until a couple hours in. So, or that, you always get good volume coming out of open in the mornings, and then these two, and I mean, look how low those are for as big as that candle is there. It's the second biggest green candle of the day so far, and it's the lowest volume green candle of the day. So that I can see. You lose that, you start breaking down here, you get a little scalp there. But again, these aren't perfect. We're just finding little scalps that, just to try to find plays. This is one of those ones. It's a little steep for me to draw a trend line, but there is one there, and you catch the top. You really catch the top the entire day if you take that breakdown. But again, for our purposes, and we're trying to be disciplined here, you're not taking probably unless you're just trying to pick a top and scalp a move. I mean, we've got all three EMAs on top of each other. Right here, they're all within 4 cents of each other. We've got the top of our zone, so this is not a play that you'd be taking if you were really being disciplined. And so, yeah, the rest of the day there was just almost nothing to find. I mean, you're just chopping up and down, up and down. Even here, that's so steep, it's hard to find a play there. It's hard to make a trend line there. spread it out maybe, and yeah, I don't know. You could try to do that once that second. Yeah, it's hard to do, but this was actually a good play, and you could see volume decreasing into this. So this is, I think this is probably corresponding with that one on SPY we looked at. So this actually could have potentially been your better move when it's dripping out of the zone and below the 13 here. You could enter here, and you'd ride that down. And then here again, we go really steep climb, walk across, kind of chop down, back up. Just not a lot here. This one here might not have been bad. I could see this here. Climbing up, the trend line comes back and tests it. This is what I was talking about when it kind of goes steep and sideways and it gives you another point. Bounces off that. Kind of sits on it here. Breaks down, wicks up, and as it starts breaking down through the 48 here, I could see an entry there. You'd have to hold through a candle that comes back and probably test your entry. But then after doing that, it's gone. And then, yeah, looking closer now, that right there, I like that flag there. It's actually a really nice flag back into the 13. Pretty textbook play there. Your EMAs have spread out. You've got room down to your next zone. So that's a good one there. And then that from there on, we just chopped out the rest of the day. There wasn't really anything. You probably just in a little channel here. Yeah, you might even have called that a little rising wedge and ended up breaking down in the aftermarket hours. So, anyways, that's that. Not really much more to look at there. We could look at IWM. We played some plays on that this morning. Man, look at that drop. That drop right there. There were some really good flags here. That one right there was really nice. And then this one came back. Again, it's hard to get in these really steep ones or to draw a nice trend line. But that thing was walking up that trend line. As soon as it broke down, it kind of pinned it to the 13. You could do something like that if you wanted. It's like a 3-bar play to the downside. So it breaks down, it kind of consolidates here, and then once it breaks the bottom of that candle, you can take entry there. If you would have held on, that would have been a really nice move there. So, and then it kind of just basically played in this little parallel channel the rest of the afternoon. So there wasn't a lot to take here. So, anyways, with that said, everybody have a good weekend. I'll be checking in off and on next week. Feel free to leave any comments or questions if you have them. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Clutch Trades, and I will see you guys soon. Thanks for watching.